Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. So today I thought we would do just a very casual homeschool Q&A. So I had asked you guys on Instagram for some questions and I'm gonna go through some of them. I've been posting on here a little bit more about like our homeschooling and how I'm teaching Jackson and Riley and all of that. So this is like a nice way to just kind of, I don't know, just give an overview on my thoughts on different things. That way you guys kind of know where I'm coming from when you see those videos. So if you do happen to be new here, if you've never seen my face before, my name is Kayla. I'm a mom of two. So I've got Jackson, who's 2.5, and I've got Riley, who's 4.5. So with Riley, we are doing more of like the hands-on homeschooling. We're starting to incorporate some of the stuff with Jackson, but he is a little bit younger, so we're not like going super heavy with him, like in terms of like worksheets or anything like that. But I know that there's like a lot of questions that come with homeschooling. There's a lot of, I don't know, misconceptions and a lot of like sometimes stigma, even though I feel like these days it's becoming like a lot more normal to say that you're homeschooling your kids. But this is like a whole new world for me, okay? I want you guys to know that up front. Like, I did not grow up being homeschooled. I went to public school until like 6th grade, and then I went to Catholic school starting in 7th grade. I did 7th and 8th in like a private Catholic middle school. Then I went to Catholic high school, and then I went to like a public college, all of that. So homeschool is not something that like I'm used to. I grew up also kind of with like the idea like, you know, homeschool kids are kind of like the kind of odd ones, the kind of socially awkward ones. So like just know that that's kind of my like background in terms of homeschooling. It's only now in recent years that as I've had my kids and as I've, you know, started to like just see like the state of the world, as I've spent time with my kids and enjoyed spending time with my kids, like that I've really started to even entertain the thought of homeschooling. So that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of this. I'm also not an educator, okay? Like I don't know, I don't have like a diploma for teaching, okay? I didn't go to a school to become a teacher. I don't have any kind of degree in early education. So when you see me share things and you see me talk about things, just know that this is coming from someone who is not of an education background. I'm a mom who's trying her best to teach her kids, to bring them up in a household where we have a very biblical worldview. So that's like a brief little background. I did also want to say before we jump into the question, sometimes, I don't know, I feel like everybody's like very sensitive when it comes to like their school decision. Like first and foremost, I know that not everyone even wants to homeschool. I'm not here to tell you you have to homeschool your kids. I'm literally just telling you this is what we do. This is what's working for us right now. Am I saying that I'm going to homeschool my kids until they're, you know, in high school? I don't know. I literally, like, my kid is 4, okay? So I haven't thought that far ahead into the future. But right now, in this season that we're in, that's what we're doing. So again, I'm not trying to pressure anyone. This is just, maybe it's an option. Maybe it's something that you've never thought before that you could do. And then you decide, you know what, maybe let's try it. Let's even see if I like it. So not everybody wants to, totally get it. I also know that it's not like a possibility for some people, right? Like I understand that there are households where both mom and dad have to go to work. So I do feel very fortunate and very blessed that, you know, in the present moment, I can be home with my kids and I can take on that role as being a homeschool mom. So please know that. And on the flip side, even up until this point, like even with the videos that I've posted of like day in the life homeschooling or, you know, my homeschooling week, I still get sometimes comments from people that'll be like, oh, well, Riley would do so well in like a real school structured environment. And I'm like, thank you, but nobody asked you. Like first and foremost, like this idea that like homeschool is not real school, like, you know, like really, like is that necessary? I feel like comments like that come from people that maybe don't fully understand the idea of homeschooling and don't understand how much it encompasses. So that's like my 2 cents on that. I know that my daughter would probably thrive in a maybe more structured environment. I'm sure that Riley would thrive going to a physical school, but that's not what I want for her, and that's not what we're doing. So anyway, that's just a little introduction. If you guys want to follow along on Instagram, every once in a while I'll share some more like real-time stuff of homeschool ideas or activities that I'm doing with the kids. So I'll leave my Instagram there if you're not already following me. And I am also going to link to my homeschooling Amazon homeschool page. I'm gonna do my best to keep that updated with like any educational toys or resources that we use, workbooks and things that I've ordered from there, like all in like one place. If you ever want to like look, or you're looking for a new toy idea or a new like manipulative resource, whatever, I'll have that link down below in the description box so that you can always like reference that. I feel like that might be helpful. So now let's go ahead and get into some of these questions. And again, I hope that maybe you're listening to this while you're doing something else in your house, while you're folding laundry, while you're cleaning up your house. Maybe you can just listen to it, and maybe something that I say is helpful in any way. So first question says, how do you organize all the homeschool stuff? I will be real with you. If you're followers, you already know this. My organization skills at the moment are zero, okay? Like there's not a system yet, okay? In my house, I don't have a dedicated homeschool room or homeschool space, so I just kind of like do homeschool stuff with Riley on the kitchen table. If you've seen those day in the life homeschool videos, you've seen it. Like there's no dedicated space. I would like to try to convert my dining room into like more of like a homeschool area where I can get some more like bookshelves and places to store things. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping that we can make that happen. But in the meantime, I have a million different workbooks. The most organization that I have at the moment is like I have a little art caddy where I keep, you know, construction paper and like the different things that we use for arts and crafts. That's more of like a craft cart. But right now it's not very organized. So even if you're not super organized, I mean, you can still homeschool. It's just you've got to know how to deal with your crazy. You know what I mean? Like you've got to know where things are. At the very least, you have to know where your kid's workbook is and your teacher's guide. And if that's something that you're following, like we follow an actual curriculum. And what's nice about following kind of one of these curriculums that's like all in one is that everything is like right there in the workbook. If you've seen the Horizons curriculum that I've used up until this point with Riley, it's like you get a student workbook, a teacher's guide, another like student book that comes with it. You've got the Bible reader. So if you've got like those 4 things, then you're set and you've got the lesson in front of you. That makes things super helpful because it's not like you've got to go and find a million different things in order to like start your work for the day. So that's as much as I can answer right now. I do get asked a lot, like, what age did you start? I don't think I started with like workbooks with Riley until at the very least she was 3 or 3.5. Honestly, I'd have to go back and look. We always did a lot of, you know, educational playtime kind of stuff with Riley. I'm sure I can link to some of those videos where I've done like, I don't know, activities to entertain your toddler, you know, things like that, working on puzzles, working on different toys to teach them their colors and their shapes, kind of the stuff that you're seeing me do with Jackson. We did a lot of that with Riley until she started to show interest in, you know, things like writing and drawing and coloring. Like we did a lot of that, and then once I could tell that she was interested in being able to even have the attention span of like sitting down and working on a workbook, that's when we started to implement some of those things. And that's when every once in a while I would grab like a random little, you know, workbook at Target and have her work through the workbook. A more concrete, like actual homeschool situation, we didn't really start until, there's a fly in my house, so that's great. I'm sorry if you see it buzzing all around here. But we didn't start that until this year, which was technically like Riley's pre-K 3. So the thing with Riley is that her birthday's in December. So she's one of those later kids in her class. So she's been working on a pre-K 3 curriculum. This coming fall, she'll technically be in pre-K 4. That's what she'd be entering if she was going to a traditional school. She'd be entering pre-K 4 because of her birthday. So she's 4.5. But she's always going to be like a little bit older than most of the kids in the class. But this was the first year that we did like a full-on, like I'm going to go through an actual curriculum. It's not like I'm just printing things out here and there. Like we did a full-on curriculum where I think we have like 2 lessons left in her Horizons book. So we've gone through that entire curriculum, and that's when we made it a little bit more real for us. So a lot of times I'll have moms like DM me and like they've got a 2-year-old and they're like, should we be starting like worksheets? And like, in my opinion, no. Like in my opinion, I have more of the, I don't know, like the idea of having your kids play. Like I think that play is so important. Having them play independently, you playing with them, like if they have a sibling or a friend, playing with each other, going outside, being in nature, like letting them do the things that they're supposed to do because they're kids. You know what I mean? Like I feel like these days we're in such a rush to get your kids to, I don't know, do all of the things, and it's like, why? They're kids. Like they're never gonna have this freedom of being able to just like play and do nothing and go outside and play with sticks and rocks. Like, they're never gonna have that again. So let them enjoy it. Obviously do what you can to be teaching them while they're doing things, and don't just have your kid in front of the TV all day every day, even though you guys all know that I'm proponents of being able to watch screen time. Like, Jackson watched the entire Paw Patrol movie this morning. Like, we're not against screen time as long as it's, you know, with other things going on throughout the day too. But point is, like, I don't think you need to be in such a rush. Like, kind of slow down, observe your kids, figure out what they're interested in. Like with Riley, a lot of times, like, I just kind of see what she's interested in. She's going through a phase where she's obsessed with sharks. So now I'm like, well, how can I incorporate sharks into her playing and into her learning? So we go to the library, we check out a lot of shark books. Joe reads to her every single night. That's part of the bedtime routine. Like, he goes into her room and he's like good with like reading those more like fact books. Like, those kind of bore me sometimes. I don't want to read them at the end of the night, but he goes through them with her. Like, I bought her some shark figurines the other day, and that's something that she can play with. I can go on Pinterest and type in like shark activities for toddlers and just get ideas that way, but letting her kind of tell me like what she's interested in, and then working on me being a little bit creative and figuring out ways that I can teach her things with that thing that she likes. So if you get anything out of this video, I hope that it's just the idea of, like, we don't have to be so rushed. Let your kids enjoy being kids. Obviously, we're going to teach them, whether they go to a traditional school, whether they're homeschooled, whether whatever, but it's not a race. And I'll speak for myself in the sense that, like, I want my kids to thrive academically, sure. I want them to enjoy learning and to enjoy learning about the world, and not just their ABCs, not just numbers, but just other things besides that. I want them to be well-rounded kids, and I want them to eventually grow up and have a great future. I want that for them. But it's also, to me, more than just about like having them be the top of their class, having them be like the valedictorian of their class. Like, at the end of the day, I want them to be good human beings. I want them to love the Lord. I want them to, you know, enjoy being involved in the church, like all of those things too. And I feel like sometimes we really focus on, okay, well, we've got to get a 4.0 GPA so that they can go to Harvard. And like, I don't want my kid to go to Harvard. Like, straight up, I don't want my kid to go to Harvard. Like, I that's not my goal in life. That's not what I want for them. I want them to be God-loving, good people. And I want them to enjoy what they ultimately do in life. Like, whatever their calling is, whatever their profession ends up being, I want them to enjoy it and to love it and to ultimately, you know, serve the Lord with whatever gifts they have. So finding a way to kind of like have it be a balance. So that's my tangent on that. I don't even know. Let's get back to some questions maybe. So this question is a good one. It says, do you feel like Jackson is more into school from seeing his big sister do homework and things? So I do think that he's starting to see like Riley sitting down at the kitchen table and working with me on schoolwork and stuff. And I feel like he does at times show more of an interest. Like, he loves to write on the whiteboard. Not that he knows how to write anything, but he likes to draw on there, and he likes to, you know, scribble, and he does like a circle and he does a line. And sometimes I'll ask him like, hey, do you want to sit here at the table with us, and do you want to color, or do you want just like a paper so you can draw? And sometimes he says yes, other times he wants nothing to do with it, and he'll spend the entire morning watching the Paw Patrol movie, which is what he did today. So it kind of depends, but I do feel like once that time comes, he may, like, since he's already seen it, be more, you know, inclined to wanting to sit down. So I think that's good that he has that. So what type of curriculum are you using, or do you have to pay some type of program? How does it work? So I believe that homeschooling is different in every state. So you want to look up where you live and see like the requirements. I know that right now we live in Virginia. In Virginia, I don't even have to register Riley. Like, I don't have to tell anyone I'm homeschooling. I don't have to register her with the school, with the county or whatever until she gets to kindergarten. So that's not going to be this coming fall because she's going to be in pre-K 4. It won't be until kindergarten that I have to do like official paperwork. And I believe it's just like you write some kind of letter, fill out some form, just stating that you're homeschooling your kid. I believe that you have to have, like, I think if I read the Virginia requirements, it was like you have to have a high school diploma. You have to show that you have at least that in order to homeschool your kid. And I think there's like a couple other requirements, but nothing like major. So I don't have to do that until kindergarten. I don't have to worry about it. But again, make sure you check wherever it is that you live in. So you can use whatever curriculum you have. You can go on Pinterest. You can find activities, printables, freebie printables. Like, you don't necessarily have to buy a full-blown done for you curriculum. It's kind of up to you as your teacher to decide like how is it that I want to teach them like the basic skills that they're gonna need for pre-K, the basic skills that they're gonna need for kindergarten. And if you do like a simple like Google search, like if you search for things like, you know, preschool readiness or kindergarten readiness, like what should my kid be learning in kindergarten, what should my kid be learning in pre-K, like I'm sure you can get general ideas of things that they should know, like their shapes, their colors, like the basic stuff that they're gonna need, so you can make sure that throughout that year that you're teaching them, you're covering those topics so that they don't then, you know, fall behind and things like that. So if you're the kind of person that you don't mind like looking up different resources for every different thing, and you can go on Pinterest and get ideas and go on Etsy and buy little unit studies, like you can do all of that. Or you can decide to go with a curriculum that's kind of already done for you, where you as the teacher, like it's easier for you. You open up the book, it tells you, read this to your child. You read it, and then there's worksheets that go with it. And it'll tell you like now student does worksheet 147. You go to worksheet 147. You could do that. You could do like a whole curriculum, and then you can supplement with other resources that you find. I kind of do that. I kind of do like a hybrid of, I've got like a core curriculum, and then I find other resources here and there that I can incorporate and that I can bring in to teach Riley something different. So you guys are gonna see more of that as I do more of those day in the life, you know, homeschool videos. So again, if you're not subscribed, you're gonna wanna subscribe so you don't miss those. But there's no one way to do homeschool. And that's the beauty of homeschool, is that it can be totally catered to the student, to your child. And you get to go at their pace. You get to really understand what they need extra help with and what they're really interested in. And that's something that I absolutely love. If Riley was in a traditional classroom, again, there are pros and cons to each, okay? Like I'm not saying that there are absolutely no cons to homeschool. But if she was in a school setting, she'd be going to school, whatever, from 8 to 3, or I don't even know what the hours are anymore. A lot of that time would be her spent at a desk and listening to her teacher. And would she like that? I don't know that she would like that. Would she get bored if, you know, if she understands a concept and the other students are not understanding a concept? Like, is she going to be sitting there bored? Or vice versa, if she's struggling with a concept, is she going to be really, you know, stressed out if the teacher's going faster? Like those are things that you have a lot more control over when they're homeschooled. But getting back to like the idea of a curriculum, I did want to tell you guys, there are different kinds of curriculums. The ones that we follow and the ones that we tend to look at are the Christian-based homeschooling curriculums. There are like secular homeschool curriculums too, if that's not part of what you want your schooling to be. But the Good and the Beautiful is one of the ones that's usually recognized in like the Christian homeschool space. I haven't fully gone through the curriculum, so I don't want to tell you like, oh my God, it's a great curriculum, and then you end up hating it, because I haven't fully gone through it. But I did want to tell you that they have a lot of their grade levels, if not all of them, available for free. You go to their website and you can download like a PDF of them. So it's on you to print them, but that may be an option that's a little bit more affordable. So look into that, because that's something that was like kind of new to me. So the next question is like this one: how do you know what to teach her and when? So that's one of the beautiful things about a curriculum, because a curriculum walks you through everything that you need to go over that year. So if you get a pre-K curriculum, hopefully it's going to cover all the things that you would want to focus on. If you get a kindergarten curriculum, it's going to go through things that kindergartners should know. So then how many hours a week of schooling do you do, and when did you start? So I kind of already touched on when did I start, but in terms of how many hours it takes, I've kind of said this already in the other videos that I filmed. When I do homeschooling right now, doing like a pre-K 3 curriculum with Riley, there hasn't been a day where I've done more than like an hour of structured work. And usually like that's a lot. If I say like we're sitting down at the kitchen table for an hour, that's usually a lot of time that we're sitting there. Sometimes I break it up throughout the day. Sometimes she's really into it. Like today, she was really into her schoolwork. So we were able to get through all of the workbooks that I wanted to do, like all of her worksheets. We did the Bible reader. We did all of the stuff that I had on like my agenda for the day. We did it all this morning. Had she gotten antsy and had she been like, no, I want to go do something else, then I could have let her, and then we could come back to it later today, like when Joe gets home from work and, you know, he can be with Jackson and I can focus with Riley for 15-20 minutes. But it really doesn't take a long time, at least right now, right? So I don't have like a 4th grader, which I'm sure as the kids progress and as the kids get older, their curriculum becomes heavier and there's more work. But for toddlers, like for a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, it doesn't have to be a ton of time that's spent. And for me in particular, like every week looks different. Every day looks different. there are some weeks where we're doing worksheets like every single day. There's other weeks that go by that maybe we did worksheets like one time that week, or we did it twice a week, or we were traveling, we were on vacation, we didn't get a chance to get to it, and we did no work that week. When we get back home, we kind of catch up. Or again, you can still be doing homeschool stuff when you're vacationing, right? Because you can take your stuff with you. Like, again, the flexibility of homeschooling is something that is awesome. But so far, like, I've loved it. I've loved the idea of learning alongside my child. Like, I'm reading to Riley and teaching her things, but like, I'm learning too, okay? Like, I'm learning these things that I have forgotten, or I wasn't taught, or back in the day, I don't know, I wasn't that interested in them. Now I'm more interested in it. Like, I'm teaching her about flowers and plants and stuff, and like, now I have my garden in the backyard. Like, and it's stuff that's still relatable and applicable to me as an adult, that I'm now also learning alongside her, which I think is super cool. So is it extensive? Do you feel overwhelmed? Right now, no. Will that change when they have to study chemistry? Yes, probably. But one of the things that I've heard a lot about, like, being in the homeschool space, there's a lot of co-ops, there's a lot of groups that you can join where there's maybe one parent that's like really good at math or really good at chemistry, and your kids get together, and that teacher, right? It's like they're still a teacher, they're just here inside somebody's home. That teacher will go through the lesson. So those are things that I will explore when we get there. But for now, that's not something that I'm like really worried about, because I can teach my kids like basic shapes and basic concepts. Like, those are things that are very simple. So right now, I don't feel overwhelmed. I will, again, keep you guys posted and I'll keep you updated. But this year, doing a very simple pre-K curriculum has not been overwhelming. And that's that. I have a lot of different balls that I juggle. I work from home, I do the YouTube thing, like, I have a lot of work. I'm basically a work from home mom, because I'm still working, I'm still managing my work, but I also take care of 2 kids, and I've got to sometimes take care of my house. It doesn't happen often these days, but take care of like my house stuff. I've got my garden. I like to do my bread baking stuff now. Like, I've got a lot of things that I do, and then I still manage to incorporate some homeschool time. So is it possible? Is it doable? I would think it is. Just a lot of questions about like the curriculum that we're using. And that's still, like, I told you guys about Horizons. I will also tell you that this coming year for pre-K 4, I did buy The Good and the Beautiful. I bought they have like a science curriculum. And then I also bought their pre-K, their whole preschool curriculum. So I have not yet gone and like fully gone through it, like I mentioned. So I may, like, right now, the 2 that I'm considering is going with a Horizons preschool curriculum and The Good and the Beautiful curriculum. Like, figuring out which one of those is going to be my main curriculum for Riley for pre-K 4. And then I will probably still supplement with some of the stuff from The Good and the Beautiful, like that science curriculum. It's on things like butterflies and plants and flowers, like things like that that I know Riley's going to like, that isn't really included in either one of those pre-K 4 curriculums. So I might do that. There's also like an arts and crafts little booklet that I got from The Good and the Beautiful that we may also incorporate. So I'm probably going to be pulling from those. There's another great like Instagram account that I follow, or I don't know if it's an Instagram or her website. I'm gonna butcher the name right now, but it's like Treehouse Schooling or Treehouse something. I shared it in one of my videos that I've already forgotten. But she has like a nature study that's really good. She has them for like fall and winter and spring and summer. So that's something else I may supplement with. But like the main core curriculums, it's probably gonna be either the Horizons or The Good and the Beautiful, or maybe a combo of both. So stay tuned. So this is an interesting question, and I don't have like the correct answer to this, but somebody said, can you do the schoolwork faster and move on to the next year, or does it have to be done in a certain amount of time? I mean, you can go through a homeschool curriculum as quickly as you want to. Like, no one's here telling you, like, checking in on you every month saying, well, did you go ahead? Like, you're not supposed to go ahead. You can go through it as quickly as you want. But for me, at least, I feel like it's one of those things that I have to like balance, because could we go through a curriculum like super fast? Yes, we absolutely could. There's a lot of concepts, for example, like in this pre-K 3 curriculum that Riley already understands. Riley understands these concepts, so she goes through them very quickly. But for me, it's kind of like, how fast do I want to go through this curriculum? Like, how quickly do I want to go through it? You know, I'm not going to go through all of the kindergarten stuff and then get her to like a first grade level and she's not even in pre-K 4. Like, again, I personally don't feel the rush in that. I feel like it would be better for Riley, because again, I'm the one that knows my child. I feel like it would be better for her to go through the curriculum, and then if we go through it faster, then we have an opportunity to bring in things that are extra, bring in more arts and crafts, bring in more science stuff, more geography stuff, more things that she shows an interest of, spend more time playing outside, going to the library, as opposed to having her like learn all these extra concepts. I would like to see her like learning to read. Like right now we're working on sight words. That's not something that's technically part of a pre-K 3 curriculum, but we've started to slowly incorporate it because of the fact that she's showing more of an interest in it. And I know that she would love it if she could learn how to read like very basic beginner books, because I know that she loves her books. So it's like a balance. I don't want to go so fast, because like, what's the point? But can you go faster? Absolutely. But for me personally, I don't see like a huge rush, like a huge reason to. So is homeschool a good idea if I'm not too creative? Okay, so that question is a great one. I don't think you have to be that creative to homeschool. Again, there's a lot of programs that are already done for you. There's a lot of curriculums, like literally, like the Good and the Beautiful one has like, there's text in the book that's orange and there's text in the book that's like black, I think. And it'll tell you like, the orange text is what you say to your child and the black text is, you know, just description. Like, it tells you how to do it. It's not very hard to follow. It gives you ideas within the curriculum. In the Horizons curriculum that I have for all the different subject matters like math, geography, like it gives you ideas of things to do with your kids. So it's not so much that you have to be creative. You just have to have the time and the desire to like actually execute those ideas. It's not like you have to be super creative to do that. And in today's day and age, like you can go on the internet, you can go through Pinterest and find ideas. Like people make up these ideas for you. All you have to do is copy them. All you have to do is do them with your children. A lot of times I improvise. I'll see something that somebody posted and I'll be like, all right, I don't have necessarily that specific thing. What do I have around my house that I can also kind of use? And then I improvise and I still find a way to teach them. There's plenty of Instagram accounts that I would suggest that you just start following. A lot of homeschool kids activity accounts to draw inspiration from. So I don't think you necessarily have to be so creative. I think you just need to be committed and make the time to like actually make it happen. So what will you do with Jackson while you homeschool? Every day is different, like I said. Some days he's very content doing his own thing. Other days it's like screeching central and he's angry and upset and he wants 52 bananas and he's like asking me for a snack and I'm trying to focus with Riley and he's screaming and he wants to go outside and then he lost his rain boot. Like there's some days that are hard, and so I just do my best to like try to juggle both. Sometimes like Riley will be working on a worksheet where she doesn't need me and then I'm over with Jackson trying to entertain him. Sometimes I set up activities for Jackson while Riley's also doing activities. So it really depends. Like it's not like I force him to sit at the table with us. He's not there yet. Maybe one day he will be, and then he'll have his own set of work to do, and I'll be able to go back and forth between the two of them. I mean, if a teacher in a classroom has like 16, 20 students, I think I can handle 2 students. Like, I think that I could do that. And if there is something that I'm doing with Riley that I really want her to focus on, and Jackson's really being like a big interruption because he's not behaving at all, then I'll give him his iPad. And then I give him his iPad. He's usually very happy when he has his iPad. He'll play the Peppa Pig app. He'll play his little puzzle games. He'll do that, or he'll watch some YouTube. And even if it's for 15, 20 minutes, I'm able to focus with Riley. And then as soon as we're done, then we'll go outside and we'll play or something like that. So how do you get Riley to be engaged if she isn't into school that day? So I will tell you that that happens often, where I'm telling her we've got to do schoolwork. Sometimes she's not really feeling it, or she gets really frustrated with a certain topic, and then she's like really hard on herself, or like she gets frustrated when she doesn't get it right, or when she's like, right now she's learning how to like write out all of the numbers, and from memory sometimes she struggles with a couple of the numbers. Like she does them kind of like mirrored, so it's something that we're working through, but sometimes she gets really frustrated. So there's days where she's really into it, other days where she's not, and I, as her teacher and as her parent, have to like evaluate like okay, are there some moments where it's okay for me to just tell her, you know what, take a break, we'll come back to it later? Some days that has happened. I've been like, you know what, if you're not feeling it, I'm not feeling it, like, we'll come back to it, you need a break. Other days, like, I kind of try to re-engage her, try to tell her, like, okay, I'm gonna do this with you, okay, come here, I'm gonna hold your hand, try to make some kind of fun game out of it. Some days, like I mentioned in my last homeschool week video that I did, if she's maybe antsy or doesn't feel like doing her schoolwork at the table, I have no problem maybe taking it outside or taking it to another room, or, you know what, we're gonna move to the floor, and kind of changing things up like that kind of makes things new again, and then she's a little bit more engaged sometimes. So this is a question that I wanted to address. So this person said, I love teaching and my fiance really wants her kids homeschooled. I just feel guilty that they won't have their friends. So do you ever get concerned that your kids might lack socially not being around other children? That's a great question, because that's like one of the biggest, again, like the biggest stigmas, the biggest things around homeschooling that can be like a negative. And I get it. There's definitely, it's harder for you as a parent. It requires more effort on your part as a parent to make sure that they interact with other kids. It's definitely harder. If you send them to school, like, that's it. They've got kids around them all the time. That can be good or that can be bad. It kind of depends, right? It depends on where your kids are going to school and who they're around, right? Like, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like, on my end, I feel like I am still able to make sure that my kids are around other kids. First of all, it does help that they're siblings, right? So they have at least each other, right? So I'm not dealing with an only child where I feel like that would be, you know, more of a concern. But there's other ways that you can get your kids to see other kids, but it takes effort on your part. So we've found here within our community, we found like a mom's group that I'm a part of. All the moms have their kids and we get together a couple times a week at different activities. We have play dates, so the kids have been able to see their friends at each other's houses, but like, we're always there. We're there, the kids play. We've met up at the parks plenty of times. The kids have other friends that they see at the parks. Again, even like 3 to 4 months ago, this was all foreign to me, okay? I tell you all the time, like, I used to go to the parks hoping that I would see nobody else there because I didn't want to have awkward conversation with other moms. But as I've gone, like, realizing like that the kids really need that interaction, I've been trying to put myself out there more and been like, okay, let's try to find groups and things to do where we do have to interact with other humans. Like, you know, that's kind of like the point of life here. So things like that you can look for. If you're in a season where you've got like preschool age kids, look up MOPS, M-O-P-S, that's Moms of Preschoolers. That's like a nationwide like organization, but they have a lot of chapters in a lot of different places. A lot of times they're run through like churches. So that's something that maybe you can check out so that you can maybe join and then have your kids, you know, also see those other kids. We have an awesome library nearby where at least now in the summer they have the story times with the librarians, and it's like several times a week where we'll go and the librarian shares different themed stories and they do songs and they sing and they dance. And they get to see other kids. So it is harder, but maybe you can put your kids in extracurriculars. So finding within your community, wherever it is you live, maybe there are other homeschool groups. So go on Facebook, search for like Homeschool Moms of Miami or Homeschool Group of Miami, wherever it is that you live. And a lot of times you'll find that there are groups that are already established. You just kind of have to start going to an event or reach out to someone, say, hey, I'm homeschooling my kid. How do I get involved? Or do you ever do meetups? Do you ever do play dates? Like, there's a little bit more research that you have to do, but once you start to form that community, it's not like your kids are going to be isolated. Your kids will have plenty of time to socialize, but is it more maybe like structured or is it more controlled? Perhaps, but perhaps that's also like a good thing. So yeah, I get the concern, totally get it. At this point, I haven't had to worry too much. Like, Riley will literally start talking to a stranger at Publix and tell her entire life story. And I'm just standing there like, why did you tell this random stranger my whole life? So like the whole not being social aspect, like that hasn't been a thing for us. And when she hangs out with those friends, I see her interacting great. Like, she plays and she plays well. And Jackson too. Jackson plays well even with older kids, with younger kids. That's another thing that you don't usually see in like a traditional setting. Like in a traditional setting, they're going to be playing with kids that are their same exact age because they're in the same exact grade. Sometimes with some of these like co-ops and like homeschool groups, the kids are interacting with kids of different ages. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe there's some value to that. Maybe there's some cons to that, but it's something that's available to them. But the interaction is there. What I'm saying is like, there are ways. So if you are interested in homeschooling, if that's something that you are thinking about, I wouldn't let that be the one thing that stops you. I get that it would be a different situation. Like if your kids have been in a traditional school setting and now they have their friends already, they have their friends groups, then now they're going to be home and they're not going to be seeing those friends as much. I mean, that's for you as a family to decide the pros and cons of that. Like, are there more pros to homeschooling? Are there more cons to homeschooling? Will your kids be able to make new friends? And those friends that they already have, like, if they really are true friends or people that you want your kids to be around often, like, are there ways to make it so that they can still play? Like, can they still play after school at a park or on the weekends? Like, are there ways to make time for that outside of a school setting? So again, just thoughts. Okay, so somebody here asked, do you use a planner to help you sort out what you teach on what days? So right now I don't, just because the curriculum has been so straightforward and I haven't had to be as structured as far as like, okay, what are we doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Like I don't usually have to do that at this point. The pre-K4 curriculum, just glancing through it, is a little bit more time consuming. It's a little bit more intense than the pre-K3 curriculum. So once I review that one, I'll be able to see like, you know, what I'm gonna need for the fall. But right now, what I like to do is like, I actually look at what's going on throughout the week. So do we have play dates? Do we have the library story times? Like what events or what activities do I want to be able to make it a priority to go to? And then I'll put those on like my Google Calendar that I use, but you can use any kind of a notebook or any kind of planner, or if you have an iPad, I like the app Good Notes. That's like a good note taking app or whatever. So I like to put those things on my calendar first, and then afterwards, then we find a way to fit like the book work, the school work into that. Oh my goodness, this fly, I swear, is driving me insane. Somebody also asked, how did you teach Riley to write her name? I taught her how to write her name like by giving her her crayons, her markers, going through the alphabet, like showing her what it looked like, her name, me writing it, having her copy it. She's always like been very self-motivated in that. She likes to color, she likes to draw, so that was never super hard. In terms of like teaching her her letters though, I will tell you, like sometimes she struggles with the letter, or sometimes she'll struggle with like writing her numbers now, right? So like today she was struggling with it and she was kind of getting cranky, but I know that she loves to write using the whiteboard. It's a fun thing. We've got a bunch of different colored like dry erase markers. So sometimes for extra practice, I'll be like, all right, we're gonna do something special. I'm gonna take out the whiteboard. I'm gonna let you use the whiteboard. We're gonna practice the number 2. You can have all these markers. I make it like a big, fun, exciting thing that she doesn't do every single day. So that has helped in those times. And I'm sure that I've used that also in having her write her name. But it's literally just practice and repetition over and over again. When I think I showed it in one of my videos that like in the Horizons curriculum, there's like a place for her to write her name. And if you go to lesson 1, you see the difference between her writing her name in lesson 1 versus lesson 30 something. There's a significant difference, and it's pretty cool to be able to see that progress, because when we first started, she wasn't very good at it, like how we all are when we start to learn things. And then as she's gone having to do that every time we open up these workbooks, every time that we open up the lesson, she's gotten better at it, and now her name looks pretty good. So just be patient. It takes time, but the more practice that they have, I think the better that they're gonna get. And again, like I said at the beginning of this video, I am not an early education major. I didn't study that. I have a master's degree in something else, but it's not at all related to raising kids, teaching kids, being a teacher. But I will say that use resources like being able to look up YouTube videos and try to see if you can find other educators or other former teachers that put out content. If you're trying to get into like the nitty gritty of exactly like how to teach my child to read, like you can look these things up, like how to teach my child to write their name. And maybe some of the things that you find are different, but you kind of gather inspiration from different things that you find and you implement them and you see what works for your child. You know, I've been a mom for 4 years, so we're going on 5 years, and I have 2 different kids. My kids are different, and so I do tend to believe that kids are different. the way that they're going to learn is going to be different. Their education in general is going to be different. So there's things and concepts that Riley has been really great at and has had no issues with. And will that still be true of Jackson? I don't know. There's other things that Jackson does really well that Riley is not super strong at. So that's one of the reasons why I love this idea that me, as their parent, as their mom, and as their teacher, like, I know them inside and out. Like, I'm with them all day, every day, all freaking day. And so recognizing like their strengths and their weaknesses, recognizing how they like to learn. Maybe Riley really enjoys like learning through watching like YouTube videos or through reading books. Maybe Jackson is more hands-on. Like, I think that those are all really good, valuable things that you can't possibly apply in a traditional school setting because there's too many kids and you can't have that one-on-one personal attention. Okay, and then I'm just gonna answer a couple last ones because I know this video is super long already, but were you nervous to start homeschooling? How did you overcome that? I wasn't too nervous to start. I was nervous maybe like whether I was gonna have enough time for it because of the fact that I'm so busy. As I've started, I've learned that it's really not as time consuming, at least right now. I know that there are plenty of parents also that I follow that have also said similar things like, you know, we only homeschool from like 9 to 11, or we homeschool for a couple hours in the morning, the entire afternoon is free. So I think the general consensus is usually that it doesn't take as long to homeschool versus having them in a traditional school setting. But I can only speak from my experience doing a pre-K3 curriculum. But I think that usually, like, I can maybe be nervous about something, but I know that like there's so much information available that I can probably figure it out. So I wasn't too nervous about that. I think more so what stresses me out a little bit is like that process of like registration or like registering your kids, which I've started to research and look into now so that I'm not like blindsided by it come kindergarten, so that I know what I need to do ahead of time. So if anybody wants to share their experience on that, let me know. I imagine that as they get to a certain level, as they get to a certain grade, maybe you have to submit like their grades and like those kinds of things. Those are the things that make me a little bit more nervous, but I'm confident that I can figure it out. I'm confident that there's enough people around me in my community that somebody can guide me, that somebody can walk me through it. So I promise that as I go learning these things, I will definitely fill you guys in too. And then I guess the last question I'll answer today is, do you plan to homeschool long term, or will they go to a traditional school eventually? I don't have the answer to that right now. I have every intention of homeschooling them both at least through kindergarten, first grade. After that, I don't even know necessarily if I'll still be here in Virginia. Will I be back in Florida? What are my finances gonna look like? Like, there's a lot of things that are up in the air, right? Because I would love to say that if I'm not homeschooling them, if ultimately we decide, you know what, it's time for them to go to a traditional school setting, then at that point, the only options for us at this point in our life is gonna be to either homeschool them or put them in some kind of a private, ideally Catholic school, maybe a private Christian school, but we are adamant about putting them in a school setting that's gonna teach them a biblical worldview. And the public school right now is not interested in doing that. And again, that's not me to insult your school. If you happen to send your kid to public school, like, again, I know that that's not an option for everybody, and maybe your school is great. Maybe your kids' teachers are great. I'm not saying that every single school is bad. I'm not saying that every single school is, you know, it's terrible if you send your kid there. I get that, like, again, school, the topic of schools is very sensitive and you get defensive because you're like, I'm sending my kid there, then what are you saying? That I'm a terrible mom because I send my kid to this school? I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to say that for us and for our family, what I want for my children is for them to go to a school where that is going to be the worldview, and I don't have to fight it. There's a lot of schools these days that are not teaching a biblical worldview, and again, that's not necessarily their job to do that, but that's what I would like for my kids. So if I can't send them to a private school, which is very expensive, then I may just have to continue homeschooling. And those are just decisions that we're going to have to continue to make for our family as, you know, the kids get older. And we'll see what happens. We'll continue to pray about it, but that right now is what I want for them. So that is it, you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed just like a chatty homeschool video, just talking about stuff. If If you have any other questions, you can let me know. And I hope that some of you guys are enjoying this content. Again, I know that it's not for everybody. I know that this is not at all on everybody's radar, and that's totally fine. But if you are in this season of life where you're considering homeschool, or you're also homeschooling and you want to see what somebody else's homeschool life looks like, then I think it could be fun for us to have a community where we share ideas and what's working and what's not working and all of that, and kind of figure this out together. I think, again, it's a huge blessing that I'm able to do this. It's been super fun. I have loved being home with the kids. I mean, it gives me a headache. Most days I have a headache because they're at an age that's hard, but I love it, and I feel so called to do this right now. Like, it has absolutely been a calling. It's been a conviction, and I'm trying to be obedient to that calling. Like, when God is telling me, this is the path you need to go on, I'm very much trying to be obedient to it, even on the hard days, even when, you know, I question, like, wouldn't I have a lot more time on my hands if I sent my kids to a school outside of here? I probably would, but I would also miss them. And I also just feel like this is what we're supposed to be doing right now. So that's it, my friends. I love you guys. Thank you for being here and for listening to me talk about this. If you are new, again, subscribe. I would love to have you here. I don't have all the answers. I figure things out as I go. I'm a hot mess most days, but if you're into that, then we can be friends. And that's it. I'll let you guys go. Go enjoy the rest of your day. I love your freaking faces. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.